The Bride. Release date, cast, story, and everything we know about The Bride of Frankenstein remake. The Bride is the latest attempt to resurrect the classic monsters once again, and there are already a ton of exciting updates about The Bride of Frankenstein remake. The original Bride of Frankenstein movie was released in 1935. It sees Dr. Frankenstein being forced to return to his monstrous experiments, and this time, he creates a bride for his first creation. The Frankenstein's bride character is just as well known as Frankenstein's monster, with her makeup and hairstyle making her an LGBTQ+ icon, so it's unsurprising that Universal has tried hard to remake the film. The closest the studio came to making the remake was with the Universal Dark Universe, a cinematic universe planned to include several iconic monsters, such as Dracula, the Wolfman, the Mummy, and many others. The Bride of Frankenstein was one of them, and a remake within the Dark Universe had entered early conceptual development. However, after the critical and commercial failure of 2017's The Mummy, all Universal Dark Universe plans were instantly canceled. Thankfully, The Bride is in the works, and the remake is in development once again at Warner Bros. Instead. The Bride. Latest news. With work progressing smoothly on The Bride of Frankenstein remake, the latest news confirms that the release date for The Bride has been moved. As reported by Collider, Maggie Gyllenhaal's take on the Universal classic monster movie will now debut in theaters on September 26, 2025, instead of the originally scheduled date of October 3. Warner Bros. Hasn't explained the reason for the change, though it does move The Bride slightly closer to the September 5th release of The Conjuring 4, also being distributed by Warner. The Bride. Release date. Even if it is a ways away, Maggie Gyllenhaal's The Bride has been placed on the schedule by Warner Bros., and it comes at the perfect time for horror. The remake was originally slated to premiere on October 3, 2025, but it has now been moved to September 26, 2025. No reason has been given for the change, but the release of The Conjuring 4 on September 5 makes it a stacked month for Warner Bros. Horror movies. It's unclear if the movies will compete with one another, though the disparate horror movies will likely share a large swath of their audiences. The Bride. Cast details. While not much has been revealed about the cast of The Bride, a few huge Hollywood stars have already been attached to the project. First announced was Oscar winner Christian Bale, the Dark Knight, who has been tapped to play the lonely Frankenstein's monster. Jessie Buckley is set to co-star with Bale as the eponymous bride, and Peter Sarsgaard is also attached to the project along with Penelope Cruz. In early 2024, multi-time Oscar nominee Annette Bening was added to the cast as well. A few more names have since joined the cast in undisclosed roles, including Jake Gyllenhaal, the director's brother. John Magaro of The Big Short fame has also joined the cast, as have Jeannie Berlin, the Heartbreak Kid, Linda Iman, Only Murders in the Building, Louis Kinselmy, Boardwalk Empire, and Matthew Maher, Captain Marvel. The Bride. Story details. The Bride's arrival brings about radical social changes to 1930s America. The story of The Bride has long been speculated on, but it has now been officially confirmed that the standalone remake will not exclusively follow the plot of the original movie. Instead, Gyllenhaal's take on The Bride will be set in 1930s Chicago and will follow the lonely Frankenstein's monster as he seeks out Dr. Euphonius to make him a mate. The revealed logline also hints at a much more complex story involving the eponymous bride. In Gyllenhaal's new version, the bride that is resurrected is actually a murdered young woman who comes back to life with the aid of Dr. Euphonius. This will, according to the logline, cause citywide intrigue as the bride's arrival brings about radical social changes to 1930s America. What that means will only become clear once The Bride is released, but it already promises an entirely new vision.